While watching Daunte Wright's funeral today, right after it, Ayman Mohayedin had two guests on. One of them was Tiffany Cross. The other one was a black guy. I don't know who he was. But he was one of those guys I put in the same boat as Candace Owen, giving people permission to destroy bodies of people of color. It was amazing. After listening to what he had to say, you're getting upset, but the one good feeling was that Tiffany Cross was going to respond. And she did exactly what I thought she would do. And I think it was a discussion that needed to be had for the entire American population to see that there are people who think like this guy, but that the reality is what Tiffany Cross presented. Let's take a listen to this and we'll take it on the other side.
If you have a history of distrusting the police, because the list of people, of young black men and women who have been shot not running away from the police is just on par with those. And I think to the other point that I think a lot of people have noted, which is there a perception among the police that if you are a young black man or woman, just the tone of your skin is a risk and danger that makes you a threat, regardless of what it is that you are doing?
Well, I think that everyone is kind of walking on eggshells. And I think that we've got hundreds of years of inertia in this country that we're trying to undo. And the movement for social justice is very important. But even more important is the concept of how we are going to heal the wounds in this nation and how we're going to bring together all of the disparate factions. And the idea of police misconduct is something that has resonated in the souls of communities of color for literally hundreds of years, but it's not going to all change overnight. And the idea of how these situations play out and what actually causes a person to get shot, what causes the police officer to have this feeling, these are a lot of things that are unconscious, and they work on people from the dark recesses of their mind. But the idea of escalation and anxiety is something that is omnipresent. And we have to say that this goes both ways. Yes, we don't want the officers to use deadly force, and they have historically been all too quick to do that. But at the same time, I was taught by my father to never run because they'll kill you. And the idea is it doesn't make it the fault of the person that's being shot for getting killed. It doesn't say that. They shouldn't be killed at all. But at the same time, we have to understand the way these situations play out is it is frenetic energy on top of frenetic energy. And we have to teach our boys that any encounter with a police officer can quickly degenerate into a deadly encounter if they lose their cool or if they do anything that is a provocative act. No, it's not right. It doesn't make it right, but it's reality.
All right. Tiffany Cross, you wanted to weigh in on that?
Yes, please. I think that the practice of white supremacy is so deeply woven in this country that you will have the oppressed adopting the talking points of the oppressors. First of all, this is a 20-year-old kid. Imagine what he has experienced in his lifetime, what he has seen in his lifetime. To have these law enforcement officers put him in handcuffs, he was fearful. He came up during the time of Trayvon Martin, of Philando Castile, of Tamir Rice, of countless names and faces that we have seen die at the hands of law enforcement. But somehow we want to put the onus on this kid. The police officers, multiple of them, armed police officers with guns and tasers. They had this kid's license plate, they had his license, they had his registration. They could have found him easily. But somehow the conversation is turning to what could this kid have done to prevent his own death? Why is the onus on us to stay alive when encountering the police? Because I've seen police de-escalate irate, angry white people more times than I care to remember, yet the threat of a kid just existing is perceived as a threat. So I really hope that people don't take away from this segment. I'm so happy we're having this conversation, Eamon, that somehow the blame is at the foot of the victim. In no other circumstance do we say that. In no other circumstance do we say, well, this person caused their own. I refuse to say that here and now. And I would just, follow up to the point I made before, because I think there are a lot of people who are outside the community who've had the temerity to make some of these comments and say, why aren't people happy with this justice? This is what you all have been marching for. And I think like minutes after this happened, we saw Makia Bright in Ohio, in Columbus, gunned down by a police officer. And I know these are all different circumstances, and maybe Betty and Don Drapers of the world don't have to experience that. But when I hear people say, that this is justice and everybody should be happy now, it's just not. And I think, how dare anyone try to present this as though this child did something wrong. Kyle Rittenhouse was a 17-year-old kid walking around with a weapon and getting congratulated and an attaboy from police officers. And this kid was just trying to get home, trying to get to his kid. I refuse to put any blame on this kid.
Absolutely no blame. Philando Castile did as he was told. He was blown away. George Floyd did as he was told. Yes, he had a panic attack going into the car, but otherwise he did as he was told. He was murdered. We can go person after person doing as they're told and get murdered. So you run, you get killed. You don't run, you get killed. I don't know what got into this misguided man that they had on, but people like him, it's the reason we continue and maintain the state that we're in right now, because they can always feel, or they can always find the Candace Owens of the world that somehow give these supremacists, give these racists, give these others something to, well, they don't think I'm that way. It is wonderful that we had Tiffany Cross right there ready to answer unapologetically. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.